So in terms of practical use for this kind of thing, as some of you know, the Professor's Choir, we're going to be doing my friend Sean's Green Hornet arrangement. That's pretty flashy chart. Well, I did the I have an overdub recording that's actually on iTunes. It's my only one that's on iTunes right now, and it's and I created this practice version. It's a practice track for me, but there's this famous speech that Muhammad Ali gave once. Does anyone know what that speech is? Right? And I love that speech because I'll pull it up. I'll misquote it. So, anyone here not know who Muhammad Ali was? Okay. Muhammad Ali said this once, and remember what I was saying about making the impossible possible? Right? Well, my dad didn't invent that. Muhammad Ali said, "Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential, impossible is temporary, impossible is nothing." So now you know where the Adidas saying came from, right? Because that's the big Adidas logo, right? Well, I love that because, something I want to make sure, I know we're talking about technology and it's fun and talking about the overdubs and stuff, but I also want to get across, especially to you young guys out there and up and coming players you're going to be facing lots of roadblocks as you get older. Lots of people are going to tell you what you're doing is impossible. They're going to tell you that it's not, you'll never make it. I was told that. But the most insidious person who will tell you that is yourself. You'll tell yourself you can't. I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be able to. And, there was a time where I would never have, when I was younger, my band director used to say my low range sounded like a cardboard box. Nice guy, huh? Yeah. But he was right. And so I find it really exciting that, in the face of that now, I literally perform regularly on this horn with the Pittsburgh Symphony. And, I just want to kind of get that across. And along that line, in terms of practical reality, I find that when you practice things, putting them in a place where it might seem like it's impossible, can actually empower you. Does that make sense? Is everybody confused by that? Or does that make sense to everybody? If you're confused by that, or if you have a question about that, please, go ahead and ask that. But the reason I bring it up is that, this is my bass. I didn't do some sleight of hand and put my tenor mouthpiece in here. This is my bass mouthpiece, which is a heavily bored out 1.5 G cup. And in order to get ready for the Green Hornet, this is what I do. bass trombone this morning, wouldn't that sound kind of impossible? The point is that, I'm trying to make is that, lots of roadblocks get put up in front of you in life, but some of the worst ones are ones we put in our own heads, and so to go from somebody who's told that your low range sounds like a cardboard box to doing that. But in the practical application, though, it's the idea behind it is if I can move the air on this thing that well, when I pick up this horn, it's going to be like armor-piercing rounds. It's going to be pretty simple, and then I can focus really on the style of it and what I want it to sound like, and how the feel I want it to have. So, any questions? Okay, so we've got time for one more thing, and this is an important one for me. I'm going to play for you a non-released excerpt over that. All right? And you can, it's gone. before I play the last one, I intentionally want you to hear those without me saying anything yet. Obviously, this is part of an ongoing project that I'm working on with excerpt overdubs, but I think it's important that we don't forget, the people who are in my class heard me touch on this a little bit yesterday about not forgetting about the reasons and the sentiments that we got into music, and that it's a dangerous place to be. Once you get a certain amount of knowledge, you develop a gavel, and you start judging people based on what you know and what you think and what your prism of life can be. And you start hearing somebody play and you're like, oh, that's too loud, or that's too this, or why would you ever play like that? I can't believe such and such missed a note. I can't believe they did this. And you don't know the whole life experience that's going on behind that bell. What could be coming through it, what the reasons what the musical choices they've made, why they've made them. And so I'm going to share with you this solo for me, in addition to being, obviously one of arguably the greatest first trombone solo written for the instrument, for me has a very deep personal meaning. And I think the more that you can make your music making personal and make it mean something, if it doesn't mean anything to you, how can it mean anything to anyone else? And the best part about that is it doesn't even matter if everyone gets it. All that matters is that you get it and you're trying to express it, we didn't get into music to play perfect notes. At least I didn't. So, when I was a kid, I was finishing my freshman year of high school. And in April of that year, my private teacher said, okay, this little Yamaha student model horn that your son is playing, it's not going to cut it anymore. He needs a real horn. And so my parents were like, well, what should we get him? And at the time, there were two choices, Bach and Kahn. That was it. And the teacher I was studying with was playing a Bach 42. He said, well, you could get him up like a 36 now, and then maybe if he goes into music as a college kid, he can get a 42 or something. But that's a little more money. It's a whole $1,100. That's how much a Bach 42 costs when I was a freshman in high school. I can't even buy a bell for that right now, So my parents got me the 42. And that was April. And unfortunately, my mother was in very poor health. And we didn't know, but she had months to live. And she had a weight problem, but we have a history of heart issues in our family. That's why I run 5 days a week and lift weights and try to take care of myself. And she suffered a massive heart attack that summer, and I was the one who found her. I was the one who had to call 911. And the rage that I felt after that, and not just the pain, but just the defiance that I felt, and then eventually the acceptance of it and the letting go of it was something that I pour into this solo whenever I play it. And so if people think my interpretation is too loud, fuck them, because it's something that means something to me, and nobody can change that. So, before I play the last solo, which really is, in a way, really captures that journey, that rage, and that acceptance. And to me, that's what this solo is about. It's about this raging against something that you feel so passionate about, and then eventually coming to terms with it and letting it go. And to me, the ending of that solo is like the goodbye. It's like, the moment I remember finally realizing that it just was the way it was, and not a day goes by where I don't think about her. And I still have that 42. I still have that horn. I still pick it up and play it every now and again. And it's probably the horn I'm most precious with. If all my horns got destroyed or stolen and that one survived, I'd be okay. anyway, so to end today's class, I'm going to play this last one. I want you to keep that mental tuning in mind, and I'm going to play it to the speakers. So you don't need to hear it. said this to me at ATW. They said that I looked like I was just playing in my living room or something when I went on stage. You remember what that was like? I certainly did not feel that way, but I think, you know, you guys probably, especially who took the auditions, probably, you know, were asking, how do you deal with your nerves? How do you fight those off? That's how. I don't always win, but I usually do. Doesn't mean I don't experience the physical ramifications of nerves. Of course I do. But, you know, if the music means something to you, then it makes that enemy smaller. It makes that self-judgment and worry and loathing and, you know, that kind of thing. It makes it smaller. So any last questions? I think we're maybe a little over. You guys are supposed to be playing excerpts with them right now, right? So, any questions you guys have?
I was actually gonna. I'll wait for you guys to go on.
Okay. All right. Have a good afternoon.